Hi, I'm Gary Byrne. Most of you know me from my books, Crisis of Character and Secrets of the Secret Service. I also have a YouTube channel, and today I want to talk to you about a very sad and a personal issue. Um, I just recently lost my son, my 17-year-old son Ethan, and to suicide. He took his own life, you just can't imagine the pain that has caused everybody, and it's hard to imagine the pain that Ethan was in to do that to himself. And he was 17 years old. He was a senior at the Springfield High School in Springfield, Pennsylvania. He was, like everybody would say about their kid, he was a great kid. He was a member of the Firehouse. He was just accepted to Millersville College, and also accepted to their honors program. He had friends. He was doing great. There were no signs that you normally see, because what we didn't know, what my wife and I didn't know, was my son was being viciously and maliciously bullied. And if you knew Ethan, you'd say, well, how could that kid be bullied? Because he was like, we always refer to him as a ram boy. He's 17 years old. He was almost 6'6", blonde hair, blue eyes. Ethan is a conservative. He was a big Trump supporter. We believe the harassing and bullying started last March or February because he was a Trump supporter, because he is a conservative, because he's a firearms rights guy, because he, you know, in some ways he was more of a libertarian about some things. Anyway, he was this great kid, but he had some friends that didn't see that, and he had this one particular friend. His name is, and through their whole friendship for years, I mean, he's known this kid for over 15 years. He's always been a little bit of a jerk at times, in hindsight, I would say this kid had, like, antisocial behavior, at least passive aggressive. Anyway, in my opinion, based on my observation. And so, on top of Ethan being bullied because he was a Trump supporter and an advocate of hunting and the Second Amendment and whatever else people wanted to pick on him for. During a conversation sometime in June, during the summer, these friends of his, they had a group that was a texting group. They also used it to pass information about school and homework, and when they were playing Xbox, they were a big Xbox group, And so anyway, they're discussing what was going on with George Floyd, and Ethan was of the opinion of, this guy was you guys, you're not looking at it from the perspective of, all you see is this video, and Ethan and I talked to, whenever something like this happens, I talk to my kids. I'm like, okay, you see a video, you think this guy's kneeling on his neck. He's not. It's not what it looks like. You only have one, look at the way the cop is reacting. The cop realizes he's being videoed. If he was doing something wrong, you would see a reaction to him. And I said, never, and in my 29 years in law enforcement experience, I had seen this many times, where I was on site when this happened and it was on video. When you look at the video, you're like, wow, from that angle, it looks like this, but that's not what the facts are. And I'm always of mind of, find out actually what happened. Yes, it's a shame George Floyd died, but George Floyd was a career criminal and had drug addiction issues, and eventually those things catch up to you. But what Ethan, they were discussing it back and forth. Of course, Ethan was taking the view of, support the law enforcement first, and then let's find out what happened, so anyway, at some point, Ethan found a meme, a picture of George Floyd, and the caption on it said, and many of you may have seen this. I've seen it floating around social media. It's a picture of George Floyd, and it says, it uses the N word. It says N-word doing N-word things, and Ethan's point was saying it to his friends in this private conversation at the time, was, his bad life choices caught up to him, and anyway. And I'm putting words in Ethan's mouth. I never had this discussion with him because he's dead, and we didn't know this was happening. And so anyway, I'm just basing it off my knowledge of him and how I raised him. And so anyway, he a bunch of his friends, a couple of them were offended. Some of them didn't say anything. Anyway, he apologizes, and he also points out to him that you guys use this word all the time, and you also walk around and we call each other faggots and whatever. And he said, it's only when I say something that you guys are offended. And that seemed to be true, especially with this one kid. So at one point, this kid during this texting conversation says to Ethan, you better hope Black Twitter doesn't get a hold of this. You'll never get into college. Well, I didn't even know there was such a thing as Black Twitter, but apparently there is. What I thought he was talking about was this young girl that they go to high school with, who's a young black female, who's apparently she's a self-appointed justice warrior, social justice warrior. Her name is, and apparently she was one of the kids that was harassing Ethan, her and her girlfriends, about him being a Trump supporter. So takes this screenshot. He removes everybody else's name off it and he sends it to this girl, even though he told my son in the group chat that he would not do it. Then later that night, Ethan texts and says, "Hey, were you just kidding about doing that?" He goes, "Oh no, I would never do that." And Ethan says to him, "You would ruin my life. If you did that, I'd have to kill myself." And says, "I would never do that. I was just kidding." And Ethan says, "I was too. The fact of the matter is, they were both telling the truth." McKnight took the screenshot. He sends it to this girl, and things got very bad. And the girl re-texted it on different social media, and people were threatening Ethan for a long period of time. And then October 19th, he came home from school. He seemed a little bit, the normal signs you look for somebody who's going to, and I realize people commit suicide all the time, and there's all kinds of different, but I mean, he wasn't, his eating was the same. The day before, the Sunday, the day before that he died on a Monday, the day before, he went out to Freddy's with his friends, some of his friends. They were joking, they had a good time. He comes home from school, he did seem a little, upset, and I said, "Hey, anybody that has kids, how was school? Fine. What's wrong? Nothing." And so we went through that, and I tried to pull it out of him a little bit, like, "What's going on? Is it about a girl?" No. So we sit down to dinner, and clearly he's upset about something. His mother asked him, and then after a couple of minutes, we also have a daughter, and if you have kids, this great thing takes place. They're at the dinner table and they start bantering back and forth. And in a couple of minutes, it's everything's fine. He's jovial. She's joking with them. They're making fun of whatever. We're talking about movies we watched as a kid. And then at some point during the meal, Ethan takes a couple of messages. I see him on his phone, and normally I wouldn't let him do that, but years ago, we gave him a phone when he was 12. When he was 14 and he joined the Springfield Fire Department, I changed that. I let him take messages whenever he wanted to, because he might be getting a call from the firehouse, and he had jobs at the firehouse. His one job was he made all the badges for the Springfield Township employees, and so I thought that's what he was doing. Really what he was doing was he was getting what turned out to be his last threat. This kid who's from Springfield, his name is, he saw the text, he saw the reposted message from this girl. He's a student at Penn State, and he decides to jump in on, again, doesn't know the truth, that Ethan's really not a racist. All they know is this meme. They have no responsibility, to find out the truth. They just jump right on top of this with that social justice warrior mentality. This kid sends this message and threatens Ethan, basically saying, me and my savages are going to come to your house and run through it. And we believe that's the threat that pushed him over the edge. After dinner, he told his mother he needed to get a notebook, and we keep the stationery and stuff in this room in our closet. That's a locked room off our bedroom, and inside that locked room we keep our safes. And she told him where the key was, and he had already taken the key for the safe from me, and he took his favorite handgun out, and he hid it in his sweatshirt. He told us he had to go to the firehouse. We've heard it 150 times. As I stand here telling you this story, I'm telling you I still can't believe it happened. But he told his mother to be right back at him, make a badge. She started to get up and kiss him like she usually does, and for some reason she didn't. Then he walked out the door, and I was in the garage, and I saw him, and I started walking towards him. "Hey, where are you going?" "I'm going to the firehouse. I got to do a badge." I said, "Okay, buddy. Hey, I said, don't spend all day. We want to see you when you come home. We're going to spend some time with you." "Okay, I'll see you later, Dad." He looked calm and fine. He didn't look upset, despondent. whatever happens to that young 17-year-old's brain that tells him that taking his own life would fix the pain, it's a terrible thing. And he never did go to the firehouse. He went to this park and he took his life. And all because of somebody who was supposedly his friend wanted to humiliate and embarrass him, and he did. It was incredibly humiliating and embarrassing when his mother and sister found him that night laying there in the park. I'm doing this video. I'm not sure if I can ever make this public, but if I can, this is what I want you to know. If you believe in democratic, if you're a liberal, that's fine. But you have to let people have their own opinions. If you don't like it, fine. Listen to their opinion, use your opinion. But if you are of the mindset that it's okay to continuously hammer and hammer and hammer on somebody till you humiliate them, you're wrong. Because you don't want to be responsible for the next Ethan Byrne and these other. This is happening all over, and these people didn't realize. I mean, did they ever consider all this is happening during the pandemic? These kids are already under all this pressure and all this unhappiness, and then his supposed friend did this to him. We also believe the school knew at least 4 days before. Ethan had been called down by the principal's office twice about this. On the last day of his life, on Monday, the 19th, when he takes his life, he texts his friends when he comes out of the principal's office and says, Mr. Hepp said, I better watch my back, that other parents are talking about it. So based on what we see in these textings and what the other kids have told us so far, is the principal knew, the principal possibly was talking to other parents, but did not contact Ethan's parents. How is that acceptable? So the school will not comment to us. They will not have contact us. They will not tell my wife, explain to their actions about her dead son. So we've had to hire an attorney. We didn't want to go this way, but we need to clear. My goal was to clear my son's name. He was not a racist. He was a good human being. And all this, the only person that's really being held responsible for their actions is Ethan. And he held himself responsible. So that's why we're going forward with a law firm, and we have to, I want to clear his name. He wasn't a racist. He was a good kid. And this was politics at its worst, and this insane mentality that if you don't believe what somebody else believes, then it's okay to harm you to the point, embarrass you, humiliate you, hammer you, and to the point of you snapping. And it's wrong. Again, I'm Gary Byrne. I appreciate you listening to me, and God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.